So today I want to look at adjectives and adverbs, so essentially the describing words. I think you can say an awful lot about adjectives and adverbs in text that you're analysing, because they are tending to add judgments. They're tending therefore to either show power or take it away, or link very well somehow to the audience or purpose of a text. Okay, first thing to be aware of, the vast majority of adjectives in the English language are pre-modifying, so they come before the word that they describe, and that's something that's quite a generic term that you can use, but a pre-modifying adjective, if it comes before the word, is the appropriate thing you can say. Be aware that whereas pronouns are always pronouns, the word it or he or she are always pronouns, adjectives aren't always that neat. For example, the example there, calculating. Calculating can be an adjective, or it can be a verb. Calculating can be an action, or it can be a description. Okay, think about what is the word actually doing. It's not as easy as seeing a word and always being able to label it. If it's a description of a person, like she is very calculating, it's an adjective. It's describing a noun. It's describing a person or a thing or an idea. If she is calculating our salaries, it's what she's doing. It's a verb. A lot of words can be adjectives or adverbs. Okay, the best way of remembering is adjectives describe a noun, so they describe a thing or a concept or an idea, whereas adverbs describe a verb. They describe an action. So the word late can be either a late afternoon, you're describing the afternoon, whereas they arrived late, you're describing how they actually arrived or when they arrived, so it's an adverb. Same with fine view versus it looks fine. Okay, so how does it appear to you versus what's the view itself like. I got an early train versus we finished early. We finished early describes when that happened. Early train describes the train itself. The one way I sort of do this in a lesson, but obviously here you can see it visually, is adverb or no adverb, because it's an adjective. Okay, catchy title, I feel, just like the Channel 4 quiz show. Hopefully this makes it clear you did a good job, or you're describing the job, so it's an adjective, it's describing the job itself. Whereas you did the job well describes how the job was done. It's not the job itself, it's how you did it. She spoke extremely confidently. It's two in a row, but they're both describing how she spoke. They're not describing her, they're describing how she spoke. So in that case, that would be two adverbs in a row. We'll look in a minute at types of adverb that you can get. Jade seems sad. Now, a bit controversially here, I'd argue that is an adjective, okay? Because to me that's describing Jade rather than the seeming. The examples I've put below, Jade seemed deeply sad, or Jade clearly seemed sad. To me, those words that I've underlined are more clearly describing the seeming. She seemed deeply sad. It's not describing her, it's the seeming. She clearly seemed sad. So the clear describes, well, how did it seem to you? She caught the early train describes the train. I awoke early this morning describes when you awoke. So early train, in that case it's an adjective. When did you wake? Early, in that case it's an adverb. Apologies. Other examples where you can look at something an adjective or a verb. So I deserted the ship, it's what you're doing, it's an action, so therefore it's a verb. Whereas the beach was deserted describes the beach itself. So you can't memorise words and know that those words are always filling certain word classes. What you need to do is look at how they are functioning in the sentence. The food was filling, I was filling the hole. Well, the food was filling describes the food, filling the hole describes what you were doing. A nervous twitch was very telling. That's describing the twitch, it's an adjective. She was telling me the truth. Well, that describes what she was doing, it's a verb. So there's different types of adjective here. Okay, pre-modifying or post-modifying. Pre-modifying, it goes before the word it describes. The vast majority of adjectives in English are pre-modifying. Post-modifying adjectives, they go after the word. Most of them have died out in English. It was far more common in the past for post-modifying adjectives to be used. We still get them a lot in French. You'll if you're describing a black cat, you'll say le chat noir. Yeah, so the noir, the black, comes after the word that it's describing. In English, doesn't happen so much now. Attributive adjectives, they give us attributes. They're often neutral. They are neutral characteristics. The big dog, the black cat, colours, sizes. They are descriptions, but factual descriptions. Whereas evaluative adjectives tend to be the more interesting ones to describe. The slender, lanky, gaunt, athletic man. All of those words could mean the same thing in terms of how the man actually looks, but they add judgment. Athletic versus lanky, two very, very different value judgments added there. So evaluative, they add an evaluation, they add a judgment. Comparative, they end in or have more in front of them. They compare things: taller, more intelligent, less painful. Superlatives, kindest, happiest, most upset. So superlative adjectives are the most or least of something. They're the extreme ones. They're your different types of adjectives, and when you're labelling them, it's important that you're labelling them correctly, not just saying adjective. That just clarifies, the difference. Attributive adjectives neutral, whereas evaluative had judgment to it. So types of adverb. There's a few main types of adverb which are there. So relatively straightforward. The names really just describe quite literally what they are. Adverb of time literally tell us when something happened. I won the race yesterday. I got up recently. When did those things happen? The adverb of time tells you the time that it happened. The when. Adverb of place is the where. We can stop here. There's a fire below us. It describes where the action is taking place. Adverb of manner, she smiled happily, he ran quickly. They are your adverbs that kind of feel like adjectives. They're the ones that describe things. They're your kind of most straightforward describing words. They describe the attributes. What was the smile like, or how did you smile? It was happily. How did you run? Quickly. Adverbs of degree, literally the degree of something, how much or how little of something. It's too dark. He's quite fast. She nearly died. I'm extremely sad. The degree to which you are something. Adverb of frequency, she's always right. I occasionally go. How often? Adverb of affirmation, certainly, surely. They affirm something. They're often used. They're very good for power. They're often adding emphasis to something or giving yourself power. An adverb of evaluation, unfortunately, elephants are dying tragically. Just like evaluative adjectives, they're adding personal judgment, they're adding opinion. They're going to be very good for appealing to the reader's emotions or affirming power. So, same three texts as I looked at on the nouns and pronouns video, but I want to look at adjectives and adverbs. Okay, so this text is from The Guardian on the 2019 election. Guardian tends to be more left-leaning. I've highlighted some of the adjectives and adverbs that I think are having an impact. So, firstly, a new political landscape. Okay, that attributive adjective, I think really is just describing that this is current news. This has just happened, but also that this is a significant change in the world. The world now is different to how it was even a few hours ago. Okay, things are fundamentally changed. Facts are sacred. Okay, evaluative adjective there. How important facts are. This implies that this newspaper is giving us the true facts. This newspaper, therefore, is also sacred and really important. Boris Johnson is the Conservative Party is the undisputed victor. Okay, again, evaluative adjective adds power to Boris Johnson and his party. We can't argue about it. You could, if you want to go a bit deeper, argue that implies the Guardian almost want to argue with it. We can't argue with the facts as much as we don't like them. Notice that adverb there. This allows Mr. Johnson to govern for a full term. Okay, adverb of time, or I guess you could say duration. Yeah, when's he going to govern for a full term? It shows us the length of time that he will be in power for. The Conservative Party is Britain's most enduring governing force. That evaluative adjective, that they last. Very interesting choice of word. They don't say powerful or well liked. They're enduring. Well. If you endure something, I know it's using a slightly different sense, but if you endure something, you suffer it. So again, the Guardian's sort of showing, I think, some of their leaning there. It's also a personal triumph for Mr. Johnson. So that, I guess, more attributive adjective there, that this is his own victory. And then at the end, he seized it with enormous effect. I think that bit works like an adverb of degree, yeah? How did he seize it? Or kind of enormously, with enormous effect. This adds to his power. Okay, so on the face of it, it's simply showing the scale of his victory. But I think there's also subtle moments where they show their own bias and their own opinion there. Compare it to the Mirror that takes the angle of Jeremy Corbyn apologising. Notice what they do though here. He issues first apology in personal letter. What the Mirror are doing there with that attributive adjective first, and attributive slash evaluative, you could argue, adds a bit of a value judgment here. It's stressing the idea that the Mirror have got an exclusive insight. It's the first time he's spoken out and they've got it. It's the most personal letter you're going to get. So the Mirror showing, in the way that the Guardian do it with, facts being sacred, the Mirror showing their power to get the truth. Jeremy Corbyn today vows Labour, so it's an adverb of time. Again, they have got the most up-to-date reaction here. And then they quote his letter. He says, we'll learn by listening to lifelong Labour voters. So that attributive adjective shows the scale of the problem. Yeah, they voted Labour their whole lives, but they didn't in 2019. They were the lifelong voters. That adjective is very important. He's trying to win them back. We've lost votes in working class communities, so he categorises them. Again, it's an attributive adjective, but I think it's quite emotive. I think people quite clearly identify as that. We will earn their trust back. Okay, that adverb of manner, I think really I'd say, that the trust is going to return. Okay, it's this sense that he's saying, I've let you down, but I'm going to sort of prove that I'm worth your trust. Mr. Corbyn had previously, again another adverb of time, he'd previously stopped short of taking blame, but now he is again, what the Mirror are there doing is showing kind of their power as a newspaper to give you the most up-to-date news, that this is different to maybe other publications who've got more out-of-date news. Finally, Ali Ross in The Sun writes a kind of TV review, but very politically loaded one. He's basically saying that he's a Conservative supporter and really happy at what happened. Notice the adverb of time. Those Channel 4 lefties quit laughing at 10 p.m. Funny that. So the adverb of time at 10 p.m. and then the evaluative adjective funny. He's inviting us basically to laugh at what he calls the lefties, the Labour supporters or the Lib Dem supporters. Okay, at 10 p.m. was when the exit poll came out showing that the Conservatives had won. So at that moment, suddenly everything changed, and he's saying it's funny. He's inviting us to laugh. There's that power play there. We're on his side. He implies he's positioning us to agree with him and also laugh and also find it funny. These adjectives are very important in positioning us. And then the other ones I've highlighted towards the bottom of this, having watched a lot of the coverage, I was of course aware that adjective, that adverb, of affirmation, he's getting a lot of power here. He's exerting a lot of power because he needs us to agree with his view. I was of course aware. Lots of these moments that show his level of power or confidence. He says it later on when he says actually stupid, which I'll get to in a second. He talks about the BBC and Sky News had a similarly skewed political agenda. He's implying basically that other TV channels are really biased and only he's giving us the truth. So that adverb of manner similarly, okay, and that evaluative adjective skewed. Well, skewed, if something's skewed, it's not quite right, is it? If something looks skewed, it's not quite correct. So he's implying that other publications are wrong, they are skewed, they're incorrect, and they're all similar, whereas he's really getting the truth. So just like the Guardian, just like the Mirror, in a very different way, he's implying I've got the truth. He goes even further, only one network is actually stupid enough to glorify in its left-wing bias. So notice he talks about left-wing, an attributive adjective, that's a neutral description that someone is or isn't left-wing, but he also has the evaluative adjective stupid. He puts those two things together. If you're left-wing, you're stupid. And then the actually, another adverb, I think probably of affirmation here. They were actually stupid enough, almost like he can't believe that they would do it. Again, he's cast himself as superior, getting a lot of humour through superiority theory here, laughing at those other people. And he carries on. So I went high risk with Channel 4's chaotic alternative election. I'd say high risk. I'd class as an adverb of evaluation here. Okay, how we went, what he decided to do, how we went into this. It was high risk. It's a joke. I mean, he watched a TV channel. It's not really high risk, but it implies that it makes this a big momentous event. It's so high risk that what if, in his view, what if the Conservatives hadn't won? And he talks about Channel 4's chaotic alternative election, with the bookings confirming their usual prejudices. Again, notice those two evaluative adjectives. It was chaotic because it's a mess, but then also their usual prejudices, again, left wing. So just like in the paragraph above, he puts two adjectives together, one making them sound stupid or not very good, the other one making them sound left-wing or prejudiced. Again, he's putting those two things together, the implication being that intelligent people are more right-wing, like him, and as he implies, like the reader. Very effective here, use of the adjectives and adverbs to do that.